Evan, so you can start.
Okay,
We are live. There's no viewers yet, so we'll just give people a moment, but we are live.
good. That was the strangest thing I've ever seen, Rich.
Mm-hmm.
What do they say? To err as human, to really foul things up requires a computer?
Mm-hmm. Especially a Google computer.
Yes.
There we go. We've got our first viewer. So
Good.
sorry for that problems, everyone. We're going to start in 1 second. We had the weirdest thing in the world, something I've never seen before. We were both logged in, ready to start the Google Hangout. Logged in 30 minutes early, mic check, did all that, clicked the button. YouTube refused to start the broadcast. So we had to make a new event and try to move you all over. So sorry for the hiccups there, but I'm
And
going
for
to
the
hand back
delay.
off to Kevin and we'll get started here.
Great. Well, this is the fourth of our series of 5 New Year's resolutions for photographers. And this one is I will build an online portfolio. And Rich and I are going to discuss several different ways of doing that and the importance of it. Photographers are really, really good at making images. And if we don't put our work out there, nobody's going to hire us. So the important thing is to show our work. It's like if you go into a store and all of the shelves are bare, you really don't know what the store is all about, even if you see the sign on the outside of the building. You've got to actually be able to see the things on the shelves in order to be willing to buy, or in our case, as photographers, be hired to do work for clients. So getting our work online is really, really important from several different standpoints. And that's what we're going to be talking about today on I Will Get My Work Online, sponsored by Adobe Stock. Rich?
Yeah. And we're going to cover a handful of different solutions, guys. We're going to talk about Adobe Portfolio. Kevin's going to address WordPress. We'll talk about popular photo sharing sites like 500px, as well as people who put their images up to Facebook. What we're looking here, though, is to move beyond just sharing our images socially into actually having a strategy. And that's what a portfolio is. And I'm going to be honest, I'm as guilty as every other person. It seems like you're so busy that keeping your portfolio up to date is not something you have time for until all of a sudden you don't have enough work. So then you got all the time in the world to put your portfolio together. Kevin, I know you've worked with a lot of photographers through the years and you've coached a lot of people on this. Before we start showing some specific tools and techniques, could you discuss the strategy of a portfolio, what the heck it's for, and how often you should feed and nurture and water it?
Well, a portfolio is a little bit different than, say, a Facebook page or social media. Back in the days of film, we made a print portfolio that we would ship around usually by Federal Express. And I spent a huge amount of money doing that. We'd send it to an ad agency, and we always kept a list of what agencies we'd send it to. So if an agency hadn't seen it, we'd send it to them without updating it, because it was brand new work to them. And one of the things I think that photographers forget is that not everybody has seen their work on their website yet. So updating that as often as you would a Facebook page or other types of social media isn't as critical, but your very absolute best work wants to be on your website's portfolio pages. It's really tempting to show everything. It's really, really tempting to show variations of all of the different shots you did in a shoot. Don't do it. That's what Facebook's for. That's what tweeting images out is about. But your very best work, the work that absolutely shines, is what wants to be in your portfolio online. And frankly, a print portfolio isn't a bad thing either.
Yeah, and having that is not a bad idea, but I want to reemphasize one point there. And this actually makes the portfolio less difficult, right? Like, I totally buy that remembering to blog 3 times a week is hard, and all of these things that will pop you up in search engine optimization and help your work be discovered and found. That is hard to do all the time. But A good portfolio is this sort of thing that, yeah, you should review it maybe every month or every quarter and think about what you're going to add, but you don't have to start over from the ground up each time. Now, I want to start with a couple of different things here, and I'm going to first show 500px, which is kind of a hybrid between a social media site and another platform that's really a portfolio. And they offer some ability for you to really kind of control things. So let me just bring up that page, and then I'll start to share my screen here. And I'll just show you a couple of things that I've figured out through the years. Here we go. So, let's just go to my page, not logged in for a moment, so you can see what a normal person would see. And, one benefit of 500px and another benefit of the portfolio is the opportunity for critique, the opportunity for people to see and learn about you. And so 500px, lets you do a little bit of customization. You could put a nice banner on the top. You have the ability for people to connect with you. You can make certain images available for sale. And one thing that a lot of people miss is the ability to actually have specific galleries. So you can build collections of something you want to share. And I was just starting to build these out so people see that these become sub-collections of your main gallery. But one of the things I do like about 500px is it's very easy to upload, but here, absolutely, I am guilty. This isn't my portfolio. I posted 3 variations on color grading to see which one got more likes and more traction.
So that winds up being a survey more than anything else, where you're getting some feedback, hopefully from peers, that gives you an idea what might resonate best on your online website portfolio.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I really like is as I go through, I can see, other photographers that liked it, but there's this better score down here, which is pulse and views. And I can see if I made it. So, a lot of my photos, oh, okay, that one was popular. That one was popular. Great, I'm popular. Oh, well, this one only made it to upcoming. Well, maybe that didn't resonate as much, and I can see that in the scores of how it did. And these scores here are really how many people shared it and looked at it, and this helps. And so as I go through, I use this as a feedback tool for me to help me understand what people are resonating it with. Is this an image that's connecting? Hey, this is one that to me wasn't that big, but people like it. I think it's the shape to it and both the symmetry and the irregularity of the patterns and the lines.
Yeah, it's
so
more
this
of
is one of my favorite ones. I was going to put in my portfolio. Go ahead, Kevin.
I said it's more of an original Blade Runner kind of image, as is the next one that you just showed.
Yeah, well, this is actually an underground tunnel in Corridor, which is in the Philippines, which was a bomb shelter that MacArthur ended up holed up in for months. You've been there, I believe. Yeah.
I have. Yeah.
Yeah. But, as opposed to this one, like, I like this one and I was planning on showing it. And oh, yeah, I got some vindication. Other people liked it too. Yeah, it's a little cliche. It's a long exposure, but I like the angle. I like the colors. I like the blue intercutting with the gold.
Mm-hmm.
But as we go through, sometimes there's things that are just interesting to me that don't really resonate with anyone else. This was just more of one of those technical images that was a massive panorama and nobody cared. A throwaway image to me that scored well with people. And so sometimes it's helpful to see feedback of what's resonating. And, what's the difference between this image and this image, which were literally just turning 180 degrees at the exact same location? Well, one of them resonates a lot better with people. And so it's the one that's less cliche. Yeah, I thought it might be more interesting to see the artifact from Dubai, but people grooved more on the stairs and the irregularities of the patterns and the textures. So obviously you have to have confidence of what you're going to put in your own portfolio. But I'm going to be as honest as everyone else. We're photographers and we're creative people, which makes us automatically self-conscious and uncomfortable and lacking in really knowing what we think is good and bad. And so it's nice to be able, as I'm trying to decide between 2 images from the same shoot, of which one is more powerful, of which one I'm going to put into the portfolio. And I can look at how things tracked. And that's useful to me. especially if I've got subtle variations or images that are similar thematically. I want people to sort of see what's happening. So, Kevin, I don't know if you've ever used a social network like this, but sometimes I find it useful to get feedback because we lack confidence.
I haven't used one. I think that's really valuable. At the same time, we photographers tend to be our own worst enemies. We remember everything that possibly went wrong, or we get emotionally hung up on what it took to get the shot.
Yeah.
And so we really want to show that picture and tell the story. Look at all the stuff I had to do to get this image, and yet the image doesn't really resonate. So I think this is a really great idea. And this actually has given me a reason, because I'm not one to put an image up on Flickr because I want the praise. The metrics give me some a reason to actually do something on 500 pics. That actually makes sense. On the other hand, most people on these social media platforms, I believe, are afraid to really enter into good, honest critique. And critique is where we get better, not criticism. Understand, it's not criticism. It's here's what I see, here's what I like, and what about these items that maybe you didn't think about, or maybe you did, and there was a reason you left them out. Let's get a conversation going.
Yeah, and you hit a good point there, Kevin, which is don't get hung up on the likes because, on Facebook, we're posting often to our friends. And even on a platform like Instagram, I see people obsess over the likes and they don't apply that critical thought. I do like that 500px applies a metric. It's not just how many times did someone click a heart on my picture. It's how often was it viewed and how frequently was it shared, and did it start getting momentum quickly of lots of people clicking on it to look at it up close? Even though they didn't like it, they picked it out of the gallery because 500px shows you sort of a photo stream of what was just released, and stuff bubbles up towards the top, which works kind of well. Now, Adobe also has its own network, which is used a lot by designers, not as much with photographers, but it is called Behance. And this is a platform where you can go and look and get inspired. And later on, when we talk about Adobe Portfolio, I'll show you how it connects as well. But you can upload things here and put things onto your profile page. You can make galleries and collections. And a little bit later, when I start to show you my Adobe Portfolio, they actually can sync back and forth. So this is kind of a secondary benefit, which is even though I'm going to build out my Adobe Portfolio later, I like the fact that the content starts to move here because it might get additional views or eyeballs or traction, and you have the ability to upload it. Now, I'm not super active on Behance. I sort of fall into the same line as you do, Kevin, which is I don't worry about people telling me they like my work. I rather just worry about people booking me, and then I feel pretty good, But we can only do so much work. But that's what I'm looking for. But it is an added benefit, particularly if you're emerging or if you are an active member on the platform. You might find others, and there are groups and collaboration, a little bit more critique than other sites.
It occurs to me, Rich, that with the metrics that we're getting from 500 pics, that might give people an idea of what is resonating, and that could be something they'd want to start contributing to stock agencies like Adobe Stock.
Yeah.
So that might be a way to get a feel for what might be resonating. Now, of course, buyers are different than everybody else because they've got a specific need and they don't necessarily think the same way that a photographer or a regular person watching a website like 500 pics would be looking at the images. They're looking critically to find a story that they have to tell. They want to have the illustrations to support that story.
Well, you mentioned the Adobe platform, and one of the things I want to make sure is we say thank you. The folks over at Adobe Stock have been sponsoring some of these educational activities we're doing to help raise awareness for photographers who want to monetize both their photography or video. There's actually a huge opportunity for photographers to shoot video. There's a shortage of good 4K video out there, particularly for stock. So this is an opportunity. We have a lot of articles and information on Photo Focus to help people sort of master this, both the technical skills that are needed. We got a whole bunch of videos coming out with some specific tech steps that you should know. So it's really quite useful. But I want to show you another piece of technology from Adobe that I love, which is the Adobe Portfolio platform. And I actually started using this recently. It's so amazing and easy to use. First off, it's free, so I like free, and they give you a couple of options. So if you have an Adobe membership, they're going to give you this included. So let me just switch over here.
Part of either the photographer's plan or the full Creative Cloud subscription, right, Rich?
Correct, but they do actually make some of it available for free, even if you are brand new. So you can they have it available a couple of ways. So here's a simple portfolio website I put together, and it's actually a responsive website, meaning that if I'm on a smartphone, it automatically reflows versus a tablet versus a desktop. So the content intelligently adapts, and they got a lot of different templates that make this easy. I'm able to customize how this content looks, create simple galleries to put things together. The images automatically do a tile type layout, which I really like, making it easy to sort of fill that content in. Sorry for the phone ringing. I forgot to take that off the hook before we started. But it's responsive, and it allows people to see the content very quickly. And as they click and view, they get a nice, beautiful full screen experience, which works well. But they cannot save the images. So they do have security and things built in, making it super easy for people to browse and see your content. And then, as they're doing it, to just get in touch with you at the same time. So I want to show you just a little bit about this platform. And then Kevin, I know you're going to show another one. You can access this if you go to myportfolio.com. And here's some of the general pricing. So what they say is, look, this is part of Creative Cloud. So if you have the photographer's plan at $9.99 a month, you get it. Or if you have the other plan, you get it. But if you want to start building one of these out, you're welcome to. And I just want to point out, at that $9.99 a month, I don't know if you've checked out any of the other services out there, but pretty much every other portfolio website, from things like Squarespace to Zenfolio and everyone else, they all cost at least $10 a month. So, most of you probably have Photoshop or Lightroom. If not, even the $10 a month might be worth it to have it as an alternative here.
Right. So you get your website, and as you can look at it one of two ways. If you've got Photoshop and Lightroom on the photographer's plan, the website is free. I mean, the portfolio is free, the online portfolio. On the other hand, if you buy the online portfolio, here's the deal of the century, and I mean the 21st. You get Photoshop and Lightroom, which is an $850 value if you could buy them individually, for free. So there's two ways of looking for it. The very best thing I like about this, Rich, is you can actually use your own domain name on myportfolio.com.
Absolutely, and that's what I did. It's very simple. You don't have to just use other ones. It's completely your domain name. And if you have other pages or things like that, you can link to external pages. I connected the video page over to my Vimeo page, where we have a lot of our video workflow content. So it was great to have that. I can choose exactly what goes here. I can connect to my WordPress blog. So even though I maintain a blog and a 500px page, which I want people to potentially see, this is my portfolio. These are the images that I'm proudest of. And I'm guilty here. I got 4 eagle images. I should probably only have 2. But I do like them. Actually, oh gosh, I have more than that. All right, now I know I have to go put something else in there. We're going to have some more monkeys. We're going to have some more red pandas. But God, I love eagles. But the ability to get this content in here and mix it up is really nice. And as you modify or remove images, it automatically reflows. So let me show you a little bit what that looks like. First up, I'm going to log in so you can see.
And while Rich is doing that,
the completed version,
myportfolio.com comes with a whole bunch of different templates, and you can choose the layout that you want. Plus, and this is kind of a deep, dark secret that nobody really knows, you can actually make new pages with Adobe Muse, which is part of the Creative Cloud. So
Yep.
there's a lot of versatility built into myportfolio.com. And as I said, you can use your own domain name, and it's completely invisible that it's being hosted by Adobe.
So if you can see here, these are some of the easiest controls I've ever used. The ability to decide what's on this page. You know, do we see galleries, tops? Are there site-wide changes? Yes, there's navigation. No, there's not navigation. Look how simple that was. Oh, yes, I want a footer at the bottom of the page. No, I don't. Oh, you know what? Let's add another page here. And I click and I just say, you know what am I going to do? Oh, I want a Lightroom album. Look, it automatically syncs with any of the Lightroom albums you have stored in the cloud. So if you're already syncing images from a cloud, you can connect here, and it's going to go in and connect to Lightroom CC, and you can find images that you've already uploaded. So there I've got travel. And so I've already got a collection of images here, and I can just import them. And so I love how this all connects together. So here I am on the travel page, and I can decide which ones I want to keep. I can start to move these around. I can decide to change which ones we see. But you see it automatically flows, which is really kind of cool. And then if I decide to, I can actually remove content. I could say, you know, edit the page content. And so now this is fine. You know, it's going to display them here. But we have the ability to go in and make those updates. And so there, I just have to go back to Lightroom and it updates. So this is a live connection to Lightroom. On the other hand, if I were to add another new page just off the top and upload my images, it's super simple. I can do that. And you'll even see inside of Lightroom and Bridge, this Adobe Portfolio button right here, right next to the Adobe Stock Contributor button. So they've built this into all their tools, Bridge, Illustrator. You've got a button in Photoshop. You've got a button inside of Lightroom. So if you find something and you decide, you know, oh, hey, here's some recent work. I want these images here. I like that one a little bit better. There we go. I click one button and there it is. And now I can just drag those and I can now add a project. Hey, this is some of my recent work.
And you can also click the button there that says also show on Behance.
Yep. And this is not adult content, but they do allow adult content. It just has to be labeled as such. Adult content being things like artistic nudes, not naughty nudes. So, you know, but I love how simple this is and built in that it's automatically uploading that content. And then again, remember, you can go right to Adobe Stock. So this publish module is built in across the board on Adobe's tools. And it becomes so easy. And you just see here, oh, I want to add content. Great. What do I want to add? Oh, I think I want to add a gallery. And, you know, so I can now give it a name and grab it. And it's so simple. Or, you know, I need to add something here. Let me add a whole nother page or a link. So you got great flexibility as you start to build it out. And I'll show you what this sort of looks like from the ground up. So when you log in, they give you this ability to choose from a series of templates. And they have a whole thing here that lets you try a layout. So once you get started, you just sign in. And so you'll just need to have an Adobe ID. And you can sign in with that. And I'm signing in with another Adobe ID. You are limited to one portfolio per Adobe ID. So now it sort of auto-populates and starts to say, okay, here we are, I'm ready. And you just choose Add Page. And you can decide to grab a Lightroom album or a page. Again, it has to be affiliated with your ID. I can give that a name. I'll call that Recent Work. There we go. And easy enough. And I'll tell it where it's going to go. Make a new gallery. There we go. Recent Work. Click.
And of course, recent work is a trap. It's kind of like those 3 blog posts a week.
True. But look, we have the ability to upload individual files, text, embed codes, which includes all sorts of stuff like videos. You can grab stuff right from Lightroom, right from your Creative Cloud library, put a contact form in. Or I could say, you know, I want a photo grid. And let's just grab that right there. I'll upload some files. And it's so simple to just go and get what you need and start to send that up. So there's that recent work. and I just click a button and it's uploading. So it's that easy to start to build these things. And you see, look, I built a web page. Oh, you know what? I look at this one. I'm not sure about this one. Let's get rid of that one. And so I can choose to adjust the width of the page here. I can choose to edit the content of what's on the grid. So I can say, you know what? Let's edit that grid a little bit. I'll get rid of that one. But let's start with that image first. That's stronger. Then we'll keep the Asian theme going here. I like that. And that looks pretty good on the bottom, but I like this one a little bit better. We'll kick that over to there. I click done, and it updates, and it's reflowed. So, I mean, this is WYSIWYG.
Done without knowing anything about computer code. You
Correct.
don't have to know HTML. You don't have to know cascading style sheets.
Yeah.
You drag and drop and click on. Now, it's not as versatile maybe as a custom-made website that you spend thousands of dollars for.
But I was able to build my full portfolio in 3 hours on my own. Having never read a user manual on this, I just sat down and followed the instructions on the screen. So it's that simple. And you can change the colors, the artwork, upload your own content, start putting different things on the page. It's incredibly flexible. And again, I can't emphasize enough how simple this is. You know, once the content is uploaded there, it's easy. If I want to go to Adobe Stock, same thing. I could say, you know, I want to submit this photo here, and I just drag it to upload. And it's going to go ahead and queue that up into Adobe Stock. And now I can start to monetize that photo or that video. So this is the sort of thing that's really worth considering. So now as I click over, notice it's going to take me to my contributor portal. And this is where I tag and keyword stuff. And so you don't even have to do it now. What you can start doing is come back to this and just say, oh, you know what? Let's also put this Star Trail one up there. So I'll click. I want to share that one. And I think I want to share this T-set one as well. So as I'm browsing and going through my portfolio or my shoots or anything else, I can start tossing things up to Adobe Stock, tossing them up to Adobe Portfolio, and it's all there ready for me to go. And so it's awesome. And if you've done this stuff, you see how simple it is. Notice too, it's kind of smart, right? Oh, hey, this looks to be bowl, food, cup, tea. Well, yeah, tea is actually pretty important there. So I'm going to move that up. These are teacups. That's the most important words. But that's that Adobe Sensei technology automatically analyzing the image and coming up with all the key details. So it's able to look at stuff. Oh, arch, architecture, monument. Nope, not Paris. This one's Asia. So it's not perfect. You know, it's looking for things. Landmark, you know. And so I can, and if it's wrong, I can say, nope, that's not Europe. That's Asia. And this is actually Hong Kong. You know, so I can start to be more accurate. It's funny, it thinks that's the Arc de Triomphe. So it's not perfect technology, but it's still pretty darn good as it finds things. And you'll see how as it analyzes things, how it's able to pick up mountain, landscape, sky. So this is useful. And that same technology of keywording also helps your portfolio become more discoverable. So I'm really amazed at all the effort they've put in to make this work so much better for folks, because this was previously hard, to be perfectly honest. So I like that it's gotten a lot easier. So let me go ahead and pass back to you for a little bit, Kevin. I know you've got your own example of portfolio.
I want to take a moment to mention to everybody that next Thursday, we're doing a final resolution webinar, which is I will monetize my photography and my videography. And we've got two very special guests, Matt Hayward, who is on the contributor side of Adobe Stock. And from the video side, we have Dennis Radicke. So Rich, Dennis, Matt, and myself will all be working to help you learn more about how to monetize your photography in many different ways, including Adobe Stock. And I did a webinar with Matt recently, and he is fascinating. So I think people really want to tune in for that.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, one of our main goals at Photo Focus is to not just make photography fun, but to make it something that can be self-supporting. So for those of you who are unhappy with your job or your career path, we want this to become a viable option that you can pursue, that you're going to enjoy, that you're going to get good results from. So I think that that's worth pointing out, that this is just meant to be viable, and hopefully it's something you can do. Now, there are many platforms out there, and I showed you one with Adobe Stock and with the Adobe Portfolio technology, which is included in a Creative Cloud plan, or $10 a month. There are other platforms out there. I've used things like Squarespace before. I know a lot of people who use things like SmugMug or other things, Zenfolio. There are many different platforms. I suggest, since all people think a little bit differently, you try a few tools out. But what I particularly like about Adobe Portfolio is that everything's integrated. So if you're already using Lightroom to review images and you're putting things and syncing it to the cloud, well, it's already there. And if you're in there and you're making an edit, it's simple, easy to publish. You click a button and it's online. So I think this is a really nice ecosystem. And I commend Adobe. Adobe Portfolio is a lot like some of the Adobe Spark and the Adobe Muse technology. It's web technology for people who have no interest whatsoever in being web people. So, which is totally fine. I have ultimate respect for web people. Now, Kevin, you're going to share a solution that's sort of the middle of the road, which is you hired a designer to build you a portfolio using WordPress, and they sort of set it up for you, but now you're able to maintain it, right?
Right. And I'm gonna share that with you in just a second. I'm queuing up another one that I just had an idea about that might be useful for folks to know. But so here's, I'll put my website over here, and Rich, if you'll take that.
Yeah, if you can share the screen, Kevin.
Okay, let me do that. There it is. And we'll just pop it over there. So this is my website right here. It's kevinamesphotography.com. And it's a very simple WordPress layout. What I've done, you'll notice in the menu bar at the top, I've kept it extremely simple. There are only 3 choices. And the very first one is the most important, and that's portfolios. So if you click on portfolios, you've got 3 choices right now: beauty, business portraits, and fashion. So I'll just click on beauty since it's the first one. And this is an auto-playing slideshow. So people don't have to work to view the work, but if they want to, they can show the thumbnails and go through each image individually.
Kevin, can I also commend you? One of the things I see a lot of people overdo is and I hate that this trend started, sharing the camera EXIF data or the camera settings. Guys, that has nothing to do with the finished image, because every lighting condition is going to be different. So we don't need to see the innards or the ingredients label. Just show the damn good photos.
Right. If you look at the back of the Mona Lisa, there's no data on how he painted it. I promise.
You went to the museum and flipped it around when no one was looking?
Yeah, I got my hand slapped.
I think they do more than that, but that's good.
By putting this kind of work up, I get work off my website. You'll notice there are not a whole lot of images in each portfolio. And the reason is because I don't need them. I need to show that I'm competent, that I can handle different types of work. I can handle propping, lighting, location, and people book me off of these very few images.
Now, Kevin, you often do work that involves fashion and clothing. Do you find, is there a need as the fashion evolves or subjects evolve? Do you need to drop, images like, I didn't see any 1980s fashion in there, for example, and there were no giant 90s shoulder pads. Even if it's a great photo, do you need to show contemporary work and let some things die off the page and new things take its place?
Well, I do update it when I find an image that I really, really like. Let me come back so you can see me. As much as you'd probably rather look at my pictures, I'll do one more. But I do like, when I get a really great set of images, I'll replace them periodically, but I don't have this burning need to do it every week or every month or even every 6 months, because again, people are going to this website to look at my work to see if they want to hire me because they like the way things are.
Now, I want to make a point on that, Kevin, which is an important one that people miss. So this is not where people are going to keep up on what has Kevin been shooting, or I'm another photographer, I want to learn from Kevin. This is where people go who want to hire you. And chances are they go to the website, they're in a bit of a hurry because they're comparing multiple photographers together, and they want to see right away, you know, 5-star after 5-star after 5-star image and home run after home run and a couple of things that match up with whatever they perceive their project to be. If they're coming back to your website to look again, they probably haven't hired you the last time. So once you get hired, it's going to be your personality, your skill, and what you did for them that gets you rehired. So this really is your greatest hits album, right?
It really, really is. And one of the things that I do a lot of is I do a lot of corporate headshots and executive portraits. And you can see some of them here. One of the things I made absolutely sure about was that I used real people and that I wasn't interested in having a stylist or models. These are all actual working human beings. This guy is an HR executive. This guy does, he's a personal injury attorney. She's a financial planner with Edward Jones. This gentleman here, Nick Corey, works at Dury's Photo in Nashville, Tennessee. And, you know, we've got all kinds of people, but they're real people of all different ages. None of them are 15 years old with perfect skin. That said, I always have a good makeup artist when we're doing this kind of work because it really makes a difference.
Makes sense. So I think hopefully, and if people have questions, we're going to take a look at the chat pod now and try to answer those. But I think what's really important here is self-selection. And if you're not capable of that self-selection, then you might need to turn to somebody else to help you with that, looking at the images, giving you feedback. But this really is the best of the best. And as such, Kevin, as I pull up these questions, maybe you can talk a little bit about how you know when it's time to swap. Meaning, I noticed that you didn't say a lot of, oh, I added to my portfolio. You said, oh, I swapped this out, almost like you have a finite number. Like, is it, 10 images in a gallery? Is it what feels right? How do you know when it's time to, to knock one thing off the ledge to put something else on it?
That's intuition. That's feeling. I also have friends that look at my website. We'll get together and review the work, and I'll say, okay, these are what I'm thinking about posting. Which deserve to be up there? Should they knock anybody else off? I don't want so many images up there that people can't get through the whole section easily. People have a very short attention span, and this is to show a quality of work as well as a range of work. So it's not just that I can do one, it's that I can do many different kinds of the same thing in different situations. So you'll notice that if you look at the beauty portfolio, that's all pretty much models as opposed to the business portrait, which are real people. And the two things translate very well back and forth. So that's what my portfolio does. And when I find an image that I really, really like and I think will build that message, I'll add it or I'll swap one out. I'm getting ready to change some of the header images on the homepage.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Now, we did have two questions, and one was, does Muse come with the photography plan?
No, it does not. It's a Creative Suite program.
But there is a tool that does come with it, and that is spark.adobe.com. If you've never used this before, it's kind of interesting. And they have a wide range of things, and it basically does three things. One is you can make a video, and by video, it's really a motion graphic slideshow. You can make a post, which are these really cool text plus graphics integrated together, or you can make a whole-on page that you want to share. And this allows you to put a lot of info in there so people can actually see multiple pieces of content. Now, that's the wrong one. Let me bring up one here that I recently did. And for example, I built out a very elaborate essay page where this was sort of a philosophy that I wanted to share with people about how the video industry was facing some challenges. And I was able to build a whole responsive web page with imagery and content and embedded videos and layers and pieces. And I can add this right to my portfolio page. So this is a great, useful tool that you can use to build that content together if you'd like. And it's really pretty flexible. Sorry for that noise again. I haven't had a chance to stand up and unplug it. But it's a nice tool that you can use to build, which is great. The other question, Kevin, was, does my portfolio have e-commerce tools or capability?
I don't believe it does, but that doesn't mean you can't link off of it to another site that would have that capability.
Yeah, they do have a contact page, and they do let you use your own. They do let you use your own domain and other things, but they don't have a direct sale. But if you are using other selling properties or platform or selling somewhere else, you can definitely do that. And so that works very well. It's not designed for selling prints or other things. If that's something you're looking to do to share with your clients, and you're using this as a selling page, that's a bit different than a portfolio. But they do let you do custom domain names. They do automatically adjust with responsive layouts for desktop, tablet, and mobile. And they do offer password protection, so you can set individual pages or galleries to password protection. I've actually found this, Kevin. I don't know if you do this technique, but one thing I've noticed sometimes is that I may have extra examples that I don't want everyone to see. But if the client wants to go more or deeper, I have some bigger galleries. What they say, do you got anything else? Or, I want to consider you. Do you have some bigger galleries that you unlock for special people?
Well, funny you should mention that, Rich. If you'll take me, I'm going to bring back screen sharing and show something that I've been doing since Photoshop 6. And that's using, in this case, Lightroom to build a client gallery. And I build these for every shoot that I'm on. What they are is every picture that I make, I go into Lightroom and it builds thumbnails. And then I can click on one of them and it will give me an enlargement. And the nice thing about it is up here, there's the navigation. Now I use a file naming system where I assign a job number and a dash. And then this is the 856 picture we shot on that shoot. And it's just a matter of going between the images. And I put my watermark on, since this is client facing and they can copy them for layout and for checking to see how a website might work. I don't want them using it until I actually have been paid. And then and then actually the way I work it is I don't release these images. I release them after they've been retouched.
Yeah.
So
but this is good because you don't want to have to retouch all 860 photos for the client to pick too.
They don't pay well enough for that, Rich, frankly.
I don't think any client does.
So. You can get the idea. And these are big enough that they can see them. They can download them. They can put them in their web page and see if it works. And it's been very, very successful. And I've got literally 5 or 6 gigabytes of these small thumbnails up on my website, which I'm being very careful to hide here. Because
and so people realize this is not part of the cloud plan. You're not syncing these to the cloud. You're choosing, these are mini web pages that you can export and embed on your own site. So Lightroom has
actually this is on a completely separate site, so it's hidden even farther.
Sure, but you're not paying for cloud storage here, Kevin. You're just using your web hoster, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But you get an idea.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah, it works. It works really well. And like I say, I've been updating the template. This template right here is built right out of Lightroom, and it's very simple to use. So I recommend, again, that people use this to deliver their client photos to for review before they get the final images. So this is another way of putting your images online that's really, really quick.
Excellent.
You select everything, you go into the web module in Lightroom. You can actually upload them to any website using their built-in FTP, file transfer protocol.
And you know what I love about PhotoFocus, Kevin, is we have a collection of really smart and helpful people. So Brian Esler, one of our great authors, is actually watching, and Brian's a web guy, and he pointed out a great point, which is Adobe Portfolio supports embed codes, which means that you could put any sort of thing on the page as long as it's embeddable. So a lot of these print services offer embeddable widgets. You could put a PayPal button on there right on the site for people to make payment for things. So if people were browsing a gallery, you could put a contact form so people can request orders. So you could actually put together a workable solution depending upon what you needed. I would say that some of the sites out there, like SmugMug, Zenfolio, and others, have really designed solutions so you can offer click-to-print fulfillment and set pricing and everything else. So there are solutions out there that are more robust, but great tip, Brian, that, you know, if it's got an embed code or you know just a little bit about the web, you can put pretty much anything on the page that you want. And this is very versatile and flexible. And it took me a while to get into this because I was so busy, and I dread having to make new websites because, you know, it just takes time. And, you know, I've been doing the web for a long time, but I've always just sort of been a hack it together kind of guy, a WordPress guy, an Adobe PageMill guy, to really date me, for those of you who know what that is. Yeah, that's before Go Live. That's
which is Dreamweaver now.
Way back. That's Netscape Navigator gold time, baby.
Yeah.
So, yes, I'm old. But this was, you know, hacking pages together, and it was hard. It was slow. Yeah. And so I don't look forward to building a portfolio, but I sat down. The hardest part was picking out the images. Once I picked out my images, in 3 hours, I was done with my website.
Yeah. And that's the thing. You want to spend more time selecting the work that's going on the website rather than the amount of time that you're going to do to actually build the site. Once you get the site, it's replace the work. You've got to have a site that works. And mine's getting ready to be reworked because it's not as responsive for mobile as it wants to be. But it's not because I want a new look. It's because I want an updated functionality.
And the good news there, Kevin, is that fortunately, you know, the WordPress architecture is also very extensible. So as you apply a new theme, a lot of that content will naturally adapt. So, and there's no shortage of WordPress artists out there to help you.
Yep. And, you know, really, our job as photographers, in order to get work, is to get our work out there. And this is one of the very best ways. Those online portfolios, whether they're for client review or whether they're for client acquisition, they're both equally important. It's not to discount the social media sites like 500px, Facebook, Flickr, but those are more for getting a lot of followers, which will generate work. And you want to have that really golden place where your very best images shine. And frankly, Instagram is great. Go ahead and put selects from your portfolio on Instagram and have them link right back to that portfolio on your website. Remember, it doesn't have to have 100 images to be effective. Each of my portfolios has less than 10. And they're all, I believe, really good images. I don't want to brag. They bring in work.
You feel that they're your best images. You applied some self-criticism as well as asked peers, and you said, you know what? I'm going to pretend I can only have 10. And if I'm going to have something new on here, I got to get rid of something. You know, we got to find the weakest link. So that's pretty cool. Now, Kevin, we're at the end of our webinar. You mentioned already we've got another webinar coming up about monetization, which is important to a lot of folks. And all that means, guys, is it's not selling out. It's making money off of your photography. We're going to share with you several different ideas, ways of doing this. There's everything from the equivalent of Uber for photographers, where if you don't know how to find clients and get gigs, you can get quick pickup gigs. We're going to talk about shooting stock. We're going to talk about learning to shoot stock video. We're going to talk about being an apprentice or a retoucher or being an assistant. There's lots of different ways to pull this off. So we're going to go in depth with that next week. But Kevin, besides today's webinar, you've put on 3 other great webinars during the month of January that are on Photo Focus, because we wanted to help people with their New Year's resolutions, which is, I want to be able to tell my spouse or significant other that this isn't just the world's most expensive hobby after owning a boat.
Or a horse.
Yes.
I have a very dear friend who serves with me on the board of ASMP here in Atlanta. And he went from a corporate job, cold turkey, to become a photographer. And in the 7 years since he picked up the camera, his wife, who had for years been saying, when is it going to monetize? When is it going to monetize? He is now being very successful. He's getting repeat gigs and doing just an amazing job. One of my favorite photos of him is at Dragon Con, and he had a picture of Patrick Stewart, who played Jean-Luc Picard on Star Trek: The Next Generation. And there's a little girl dressed up as a baby Vulcan, and Stewart is giving her a great big hug. And it's just the most endearing image in the world that you'd ever possibly want. And that's what's so cool about photography, is we may not ever be billionaires, but it's almost guaranteed we won't. And we're going to live incredibly rich lives. And that is really the payoff of loving and being a photographer.
So Kevin, what are those other webinar topics, those first 3, if they want to check them out over on Photo Focus? And I believe there's a link in each post to the past webinars.
There is. And of course, now you that's
I already did those, guys. How am I supposed to remember what I already did?
Yeah, last week's was about stock, and that was with Matt Hayward. And we did that live from the Opryland Convention Center at Imaging USA. So it's got really good information, but it's 2 guys on laptops talking back and forth to each other. It's a funky way of looking at it. The other one was the one before that is on copyright and how to register your copyrights. And it is really good because it goes through the why, what copyright is, why it's important, and why everybody wants to get their images copyrighted. And let's see, what was the first one that you and I did?
I believe it was on, I will organize and back up my photo library, which you can't make money off of your photos if you can't find them or you lose them.
Well, if you can't find them, you can't pick the best ones to put in your online portfolio. So all of these are really valuable webinars, and they're all up on Photo Focus where you can find them. And we'll be putting up a page. The page is already up, actually, but there'll be there'll be a page coming up for the new webinar, and all of them will be listed, as well as the information about the upcoming one with Matt and Dennis. So excellent. Very excited about this. And I'm really excited that you're all here with us at Photo Focus. Make sure that if you haven't done it already, that you have subscribed to Photo Focus. That's photofocus.com. And we're starting a new feature that I'm really excited about. It's called Quick Tips. We're asking our photographer authors to come up with tips that are just a few sentences long with one photograph that you can absorb in 15 to 30 seconds on how you can improve your photography. So right now we're publishing them 3 times a week. We're looking to get them 6. So by all means, do check that out.
Yep. And you'll also find tons of in-depth articles, business. Photo Focus has actually been around for 19 whole years. It was started by a good friend of mine, Scott Bourne. So we're coming up on our 3rd decade here soon, with tons of great, useful content and tons of free stuff up there to help you out. So be sure to check that out. Well, my name's Rich Harrington. I'm the publisher of the site. Kevin Ames is one of our 2 managing editors. We hope you guys found this helpful. Kevin, I really appreciate you doing this. I'm glad people came out today. You got any closing comments?
Just want to thank our readers, thank our viewers, and remember, photography is supposed to be fun. If it's not fun, you're doing it wrong, and there is no whining in photography. I'm Kevin Ames. I'm also a photographer.
Thanks, guys, for tuning in.